This special podcast is brought to you by ASP Isotopes. Paul Mann is the executive chair and the chief executive of ASP Isotopes. For a while, you stepped back as the CEO, Paul. In fact, when we had a conversation, somebody was asking about your company in our recent webinar. And I said, I was a bit worried because you weren't in the hot seat anymore, but you're very much in the hot seat, as we can see right now. Just unpack what happened with your leave of medical absence.
Yeah, so I've actually broken my ankle twice in 2 years, and I haven't really been able to walk. So I had some surgery on the ankle in New York in September, but it meant I wasn't able to travel and I wasn't very mobile for a period of time. And so we decided that I would step down as Chief Executive Officer, and Robert Ainscoe, who is our Chief Operating Officer, become interim CEO while I was taking my medical leave of absence. All is fine now. I started again a few weeks ago. I'm able to travel again. I'm able to walk again. I'm actually in South Africa today. And so yeah, the future is looking bright.
And your South African operation, you've just bedded down the acquisition of Renogen. You told us that on the Stock Exchange News Service. Was it early January that everything went through? Have you been at Virginia, made any impact yet?
Correct, yeah. So the acquisition closed in the early part of January, and Renogen shareholders now became ASP Isotopes shareholders. And obviously we listed our shares in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange back in August last year to effectuate this transaction. And yes, I mean, we've had our engineers now down at the Virginia gas field a number of times. Our engineers are helping the Renogen engineers work on the project. We've seen a big uptick in performance. We've also recruited some new drilling experts, Kennedy Exploration, to do the drilling and do some seismics. We're seeing a huge increase in the efficiency of the drilling and the output of the plants. So it's been a great success, and I think the two companies combined will turn this into a great opportunity for everyone.
Well, just explain that to us, would you? Where you found the experts, or why it is that the guys you've brought in are more proficient than those who might have been there in the old Renogen?
Well, a lot of it's just numbers. So we have sort of over 40 engineers at ASP Isotopes. 20% of our engineers have got PhDs. They've all got very advanced degrees. And Renogen had 3 engineers before we got there. So you just bring more manpower, more expertise, more capability, different skills. You clearly have a big uptick in how things get done. In terms of drilling, we brought in the world's best drilling company, Kennedy Exploration, to do the drilling. They've done a new seismic study to show where we drill. We drill differently now. We drill more efficiently. What we're seeing is, a much greater output in terms of the flow from each well. So that will allow us to drill fewer wells and get more gas, and that's obviously improves our return on capital.
And what you found there, were you happy with? Is it what you expected?
Yeah, we're very happy. I mean, this is an incredible resource, one of a kind in the world, and we're going to turn this into a world-class LNG facility and helium facility.
That's really good news that when you arrive at a place that you've acquired, it's not always what was initially anticipated. But from your perspective, it's all going in the right direction. And I suppose the recruitment of the CEO and the chief operating officer from Renogen into your organization also, I suppose, gives you some insight there too.
Yeah, correct. So Stefano Moroni used to be the CEO of Renogen, and I've been looking for a CEO for electronics and rocketry for a number of years now. He's the perfect CEO for electronics and rocketry. He's based in Austin, Texas, which is, in my view, the new Silicon Valley. And he has relationships with a lot of the AI companies and advanced semiconductor companies in that area. He understands his industry far better than I do. He's exactly the right guy to lead that division. So we're very happy with that as well.
On the Stock Exchange News Service this morning, there is an announcement that you've invested $10 million into a biotech startup called Opiango. Is that how you pronounce it?
Opiango. Yes, an Israeli company. Some of the smartest people in the world in protein engineering. Pet Labs is emerging to become a great, an incredible nuclear theranostics company. We've actually got 4 internal assets, wholly owned assets ourselves, going into human trials. They're later this year. Opiango is a protein engineering company. If we can better engineer the proteins be attached to a radionucleide, we're going to create better drugs. And so it's a great relationship between the two companies and a lot of synergies between the two companies.
Now, yeah, I'm perhaps would like you to expand a little on that, because now you've got the isotopes that you are making through the original company. You've got Renogen, which presumably gives you raw materials, and now you have one step further in the chain. Is that a bit simplistic to look at it in that respect?
Yeah, I would think of as having 4 verticals within the company. One is nuclear energy, which is quantum leap energy, and we're spinning that out later on this year. The second is nuclear medicine. The third is electronics and rocketry, and the fourth is kind of natural gas, which is probably kind of non-core. They're the 4 verticals, and obviously nuclear medicine consists of producing radioisotopes, and we supply about 100% of the PET imaging isotopes used in South Africa, and we've also got a presence now in the United States as well. And we've also got theranostics, which are radiotherapy drugs to treat cancer, and they're going into human trials next year. So we're becoming quite a diverse company now. We are.
And the revenues, are they starting to flow yet?
Yeah, revenues are still small right now. I mean, Pet Labs, we did sort of about we haven't produced our annual results yet on 10K, but if you look at our run rate in the first 3 quarters of the year, we'll clock in about sort of between $4 and $5 million in 2025. That will grow substantially in 2026. It should grow substantially in 2026. And I think what we've said is that we expect to do $300 million in EBITDA by 2030. And so that's the kind of growth we're looking at over the next sort of 4 years or so.
Opiango, tell us a little more about that. There are, I suppose, an issue which you have already flagged, that both that yourself and Todd Wider, who's also director of ASP Isotopes, are shareholders in this company. How have you handled the corporate governance issues there?
Well, it's pretty straightforward, really. So myself and Todd reclused ourselves from the board meeting to discuss and to vote on the transaction, to make sure there's independent board members who voted for it. But Todd and I have been involved in Opiango for a number of years. Todd's got a long history of doing biotech in Israel. He was the executive chairman of Amendo Bio, which he sold to a Japanese company for $350-400 million just a couple of years ago. And they've got some of the best protein engineers in the world. The main inventor here is a Nobel laureate, and we're lucky to have access to that technology. I think we're going to create some incredible drugs to treat a lot of difficult diseases in the next few years.
Well, apart from your ankle issue, you've been in a hurry pretty much on ASP Isotopes. Since we first spoke, you seem to be very busy in building this organization, this company. How are you, what kind of strain is it putting onto your balance sheet, though?
We've actually got an exceptionally strong balance sheet. We raised about $310 million into ASP Isotopes during last year, between, say, June and October. And then we raised $70 million into Quantum Leap Energy in November last year. And so we never had a stronger balance sheet. Then we have capital to deploy over the next couple of years into high return projects. So we're going to invest another $170 million into Renogen. That will unlock about $750 million of debt funding, primarily from the US government, which will allow us to complete the Renogen project using other people's capital rather than our capital, which is fantastic. And then we've also got to build some more isotope plants in Iceland and overseas. And so there's small ticket items each, $5 to $10 million a go. So we've never had a stronger balance sheet. And as I said, we're going to deploy that into high return on capital projects.
So you're not needing to go back to the market to raise more money on your current strategy?
Certainly not using equity, no. We may raise some debt. That's quite possible. But we don't expect to have to raise any equity in the short term.
So Paul, as mentioned, you're in a hurry. What's next?
Let's get these plants operational. Let's stop producing isotopes. Let's start producing helium. Let's start producing looking around financial gases. Yes, it's a major year for the company.
And any more updates from the Pelindaba opportunity?
Yeah, I'm actually going to Pound Arbor tomorrow and to meet with Nexa. And listen, our engineers, we've built one test bench at Pound Arbor. We're building a second. We're looking forward to starting to build a plant there and produce a nuclear isotopes. And the world is desperate for more nuclear fuel, and quantum leap energy will hope to do that in the next sort of several years.
Just explain that. Unpack it for someone who doesn't know what ASP Isotopes is about.
Well, listen, our goal is to make isotopes for the world. Isotopes are used in many different industries, from nuclear fuel to nuclear medicine. And there's an emerging need for isotopes and new technologies as well. So take semiconductors, for example. Semiconductor development has followed Moore's law for the last 70 years. Moore's law states a semiconductor doubles in speed every 18 months. That's broadly been the case for the last 70 years or so. It's believed Moore's law stopped working in 2024. We're never going to make a faster semiconductor than the TSMC 2 nanometer chip, never a smaller or faster semiconductor without new materials. We kind of exhausted the laws of physics, is the belief. Silicon-28, we can increase the speed and conductivity of a semiconductor and make faster semiconductors. So the belief is that to make next generation semiconductors, the world will need silicon-28, germane-70. Our goal is to supply those two isotopes to the market. In terms of other things like quantum sensing, that's going to need maybe carbon-12 and nitrogen-15. Nuclear medicine will require things like lutetium-177, gadolinium-160, nickel-64 to treat these dreadful diseases. And, there's not many suppliers of those isotopes. Our goal is to become the supplier of those isotopes and really change people's lives for the better.
I'm sure there are a lot of South Africans who are absorbing this information and saying, but why does this bright guy come to this country? Why does he actually come to South Africa? Why not just stick around, stay in NASDAQ?
We have probably sort of over 300 employees in our company. I'm going to guess 296 of them are based here in South Africa. So that's why we're here. We hired some of the smartest nuclear physicists and nuclear engineers in the world to do this. Not many countries have that skill set. Certainly the United States doesn't. Certainly the UK doesn't. So we were lucky to find these engineers and use them in South Africa. And it's going great.
And I think maybe you can elaborate a little bit about how you got involved in ASP in the first place, given that it was a South African business that wasn't doing well. It was in business rescue, and you were sitting on the other side of the world and saw this as an opportunity to really turbocharge it.
Yeah, yes. And I spent most of my career in finance, managing money. And, when I was running a hedge fund, some of my best short positions were companies that needed isotopes because they couldn't get them. The supply chain was so challenging, they'd regularly miss their quarterly earnings. They couldn't get hold of the isotopes they needed. So when we found this group of scientists going through business rescue, I thought straight away, this could really solve a lot of these supply chain problems. We started to see cracks in the critical materials supply chain really starting to grow in 2018, 2017, I would say. Obviously, COVID accelerated those supply chain weaknesses, and now it's all blown national crisis to make sure that countries like the United States and Europe have access to materials that generate the power in their country and generate the medicines to treat patients. So that's kind of how we got involved in it. And I've always been an opportunistic investor. I try and find the best assets trading at the lowest valuations. I think we've found two here in South Africa, ASP Isotopes' initial investment in the isotope enrichment facilities, but also Renogen as well. Two fantastic assets trading at distressed valuations.
And is the American investor, or those on Wall Street, those who watch your stock on NASDAQ, are they starting to get interested?
Yeah, there's a huge amount of interest in what we do. I speak to probably 5 or 10 investors every week in the United States. We've had 4 field trips down here to South Africa. Many investors have flown from the United States to South Africa to look at what we do, to visit our plants, and to understand it. Same with European investors as well. So there's a growing awareness of what we do, and I think investors are increasingly recognizing that the United States needs to invest in critical material supply chains, and that's what we are.
It is interesting at the way that Donald Trump has turned the world pretty much on its head with the way that he sees things. Is he a good or a bad impact for your company?
So I'm not going to make comments on political on politicians around the world, but I think the world has needed some adult supervision for quite some time, and they're finally getting some adult supervision. But I think when you look at the American economy now, it's growing at a rate we haven't seen for decades. And if you look at the American population, they feel better off now than they did probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. And so I think results will judge for themselves.
But the fact that America also needs rare minerals on the one part, isotopes, which of course plays to your sweet spot, cannot be a bad thing for the company.
Oh, no, listen, we're in a perfect position right now to benefit from the cracks we're seeing in supply chains, and I think people are realizing that countries need to make sure they have access to the tools they need to operate, and we're seeing that happen in real time.
Paul, what is your message to the South Africans who see that that ASP Isotopes has popped up onto the stock exchange here, that you are the owner of a company that has had a spotty track record in Renogen? How do you engage with potential institutional investors who might be showing interest now?
Listen, I mean, come and visit our facilities, come and visit our plants, come and speak to our engineers, see what we're doing. This is a very unique business, and I think we've got a pretty good track record of buying distressed assets and turning them around, and that's what we're doing with Renogen, for example. It's a great asset. We're putting more engineers and resources behind it, and it's going to be a fantastic resource for both the South African population and the rest of the world.
And how long will it take you to do the turnaround to the degree that people will be able to see it in the numbers?
It's already happening. I think we'll see it around the middle of this year. You'll start to see numbers around the middle of this year, I guess. And then obviously phase 2, which is the really big part of the project, will happen over the next 4 years, and you'll see it. We'll give progress reports in real time as to how we're doing.
Yeah, those are the big numbers. And as you say, you'll be putting in 170 million. The US government will be putting in a lot as well. Local support, the IDC, Standard Bank, anyone else?
So IDC are already invested in the Virginia gas project. We'll talk to them, and again, we're going to employ lots of people. We're doing good things for the country, increasing GDP growth. We'll see.
I've got to ask you a last question. We have had some very interesting feedback from Kinetico, who've got natural gas in Mpumalanga. Their latest strike was phenomenal, off the charts. And South Africa is going to have a shortage of natural gas soon. Are you talking to them? Is there any synergy there with a company of that nature? They too are offshore owned.
Yeah, I can't really comment about discussions with them having other companies, but South Africa is short of energy, and we need more energy, more natural gas, and so anyone that can bring more natural gas to the country is helping the country greatly.
Paul Mann is Executive Chairman and the Chief Executive of ASP Isotopes. I'm Alec Hogg from BizNews.com.